Welcome back to another video in the AI rabbit hole series. Now, if you're new here, these videos on my channel are where we kind of go off tangent a little bit and discuss the latest and greatest in AI. And with me here again is Daniel Lynch. Now, Daniel is a partner of mine. We run Empathy First Media, which is a marketing agency doing high ticket lead generation for clients in various industries. Daniel, thank you so much for hopping on once again.
So it's always good to be here, Ryan Dozer. Spread the good
Yeah.
word about AI and the future of where we're going with things.
Absolutely. So Daniel and I talk about AI literally every day. So we figured a while ago, why don't we just start talking about this stuff on YouTube videos and call it AI rabbit holes? Because that's essentially what it is.
It is a rabbit hole because once you go down it, you don't think the same about your daily routine, the tasks that you're completing, and more than anything, it's your time. Is your time being used the best way possible, or is there an AI agent or an API hook or something that may take a little time to set up, but then you never have to worry about that repetitive task ever again every single day? It's automatically going on in the background to either create residual income if you're doing affiliate marketing, or for in our case with high ticket lead generation, it's a way to look at analytics, look at trends, forecasts for our clients, and understand anomalies that if we're going in the wrong direction, we caught an inflection point and we're now going concave down. How can we shift that before we hit rock bottom and address what the underlying issues are? AKA Ryan, in our case, lately it's been spam bots for pay per click,
Yeah.
surprisingly, and that we're having to use AI for that now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I first want to get into AI agents. You mentioned that earlier. That's the big buzzword in 2025. I want to hear a prediction from you, Daniel, in terms of, I guess, job losses or white collar jobs. How do you see AI agents kind of impacting this here in Q1?
Well, I think in Q1, we're not going to necessarily see any job losses. I would say probably not through this year, even. I would say maybe
I
next
agree with
year
that.
is where it would shift. But what we're seeing right now is we're seeing the renaissance of human thought. That, if we look at the renaissance after the plague, we're having ours after COVID, right? With AI coming around, that people are thinking differently of, should we work remote? Should we work from home? Should we work wherever we want? But at the same time, what are the tasks that don't even require a human? And where I think white collar jobs are going to be trending towards is having individuals who have a skill set to get more ROI for their employer or their client, get more done with less work, less time doing tedious things. Because the reality is, the average 9 to 5 corporate job, someone is doing something thinking that it's 10 times more difficult than it is to fill their day, when all they need to do is, if they sat down and did their entire 40-hour work week, they'd probably do it in a couple hours. And if that is the case, well, we now have an AI agent that will say, hey, we'll do that for you, but we need you to do the hard part that only humans can do, or review our work. And I think that's what we're going to be shifting, is whether you're an insurance agent or you're in finance or you're in some different industry, AI will start creeping into different spaces. I'll tell you what, if you're a radiologist and you're looking at imaging, you should be looking at AI, because studies have shown that radiologists, they're human. Who would have thought, right? But that AI is significantly more accurate in identifying early cancer detection, prevention, catastrophic impacts to the human body that a regular human eye cannot see.
Yeah, and I think
And
going back to the first iterations of this, I think Claude computer use was probably the most applicable one I've seen so far. You have all these platforms coming out, like Tascade's been around for a while. You got Lindy, Revelance, I think, is another AI agent platform. But I agree with you. I don't think that we're there yet, especially in Q1, if even 2025 at all, for AI agents to take over the job force at scale. But like, look at the menial tasks, right? And Claude computer use actually did that in a demo when Anthropic released it, where it did like a data entry task. It said, here, take over my screen, do all the research and fill in the columns on Microsoft Excel. And it did that. And when I saw that, and I'm sure when a lot of people saw that too for the first time, you're thinking, holy shit. I mean, where is this going to go? Right. And this is just the first iteration of this.
well, where the next iteration is going to go, and where we haven't truly breached yet, is the LLMs have evolved to a point where the functionality is there to do a lot of different complex tasks. Having agents within agents, and then sub agents that check the agent above them, and another agent that have checks and balances. That's really great to do iterations and converge on a unique solution. That's how any mathematical, if you were to study calculus or differential equations, it's about converging on a unique solution, which is the backbone of how these algorithms and language learning models are run. But the missing puzzle piece still here yet is fine tuning on unique data sets that can know how to handle specific situations for your use case. And that's why at Empathy First Media, our big focus has been for AI is yes, you know what? You could use all these different SaaS tools and AI platforms, but the real bread and butter of what we've been trying to focus on is how do we collect as much data as possible for our clients, whether it's on a client level, an industry level, nation, international, topical, categorical, whatever it may be, and then have that data in a vector database where we can plug and chug and just connect. And having that vector database also in a way that it can be utilized in a very timely manner, because that's some of the issues that if you pump in millions of pages of data, well, guess what? It has to go through all of it. And so as we're seeing these vector databases evolve and we're able to do API calls and get real-time results that go through maybe not even one LLM, when we were using Stack AI, Ryan, I was running agents that were going through OpenAI, Perplexity, Claude, Mistral, looking at all the different outcomes and having an agent say, "Well, I like this, this, and this," combining them, and then I'm a big Anthropic guy. I don't hide that. Claude 3.5 Sonnet has some of the best output you can have. Um, where the data is now going, I have the output I want, but now Claude, which historically was limited by the data sets you could utilize, now has that information where it can start processing things and getting more complex with its output. And in our use cases of integrative cash pay medical doctors, where conventional medicine is the norm in these AIs, we had to create a custom data set of information to pull from that broke away from the Mayo Clinic, the Cleveland Clinic, the MD Anderson, the CDC, the WHO, and took a different perspective, which is why we had to implement Mistral in our agents, because
More
they were
uncensored model.
uncensored. That is correct, Ryan. That Mistral was actually the most uncensored LLM that we found for medical that actually had relatively accurate information.
Yeah, for sure. And I want to talk about, I guess, my use case as a content creator when it comes to agents for a second, just to get the juices flowing here. And number one, I think that there's still a lot of shiny object syndrome when it comes to AI agents, right? I don't think there's still a lot of use cases right now when people just say AI agents is going to take over and do everything. Here's my big use case as a content creator, especially on YouTube. So here's what I want to have happen, at least hopefully at some point at this year, if I can figure this out, if the technology is available. Every time I publish a YouTube video, I want there to be an agentic workflow where I have an agent that automatically transcribes it, writes an SEO optimized blog post integrated with my WordPress site, knows best practices, knows my writing style, has a certain set of parameters. When he publishes the blog post, it triggers another agent. Well, that agent specializes in threads on Twitter, for instance, right? And he's trained on threads with my writing style, with my guidelines, publishes a thread, syncs it up with my Twitter or X account. When that happens, I want another agent specializing in emails. Now they're synced up with my email newsletter. They can auto schedule the newsletter. They have my writing style. They have all the guidelines for best practices on subject lines, email copy, etc. You see where I'm going with this, Daniel. It's like that's my perfect workflow in terms of agents as a content creator.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why also we use a lot of HubSpot at Empathy, because HubSpot actually has a lot of this built in where Dharmesh is, they even have their own marketplace, agents.ai, where people are doing exactly what you're talking about. Or, if you're on a budget and you don't want to go down the rabbit hole too much, you could always use a Make workflow or Zapier workflow, which they have AI built in for that. But you still need to implement the best practices.
That's the hard part is they're not there yet, right? They can do it, but it's the quality. Quality is the big question mark.
Yeah. So, and that's the issue, right? Is that's where the fine tuning comes in, right? Is that you have to, the best way to train an AI agent I've seen is give it examples of what's good and what's bad, and then have it learn from those as templates. So that way the best practices are deployed. And it's like, all right, you could tell AI, I only want, 80 characters max limit, and it will still give you more. But if you give all the examples of 80 characters and then still specify that, well, then it creates an additional constraint because it will pick up on that, I don't know what you would call that, basically a similar variable or similarity of knowing, okay, this is the format of how it should be every single time. Use only one emoji. Don't do emojis everywhere, right? People
Custom
don't think of
parameters for each agent.
yes, and also the brand voice is a big component of that too. And basically, what is the data sets? Because everything we're talking about is data sets here of brand voice, the industry, the data it's pulling from. And if you solely rely only on the open AI or the Anthropic models, you're going to be disappointed because they're not going to be as customized. So every time I talk to someone, I have some people in my building that I've talked to about AI, and they're like, AI could never do my job, it's too complex. I said, first of all, you have no idea how to use AI. Second of all, you don't even know what an AI agent is. Third of all, if you were to upload every single document you've ever done that's similar to this task, I guarantee you AI would give you a starting point that's way down the field to save you hours of your time. But you would rather say, you know what, I'd rather have a horse and buggy than a combustion engine.
A
And
lot of
that's why
that
you're,
stems from fear, though.
well, yeah, well, fear is everything in society because it's not good for the powers that be if people are empowered to have knowledge and tools where they could break away from the system. And that's why, what we're doing at Empathy and other agencies, we're in high demand right now because everybody wants to automate, cut their overhead, minimum wage is on the rise in a lot of
I
places.
think UBI is
Things,
going to come at some point. It's going to have to.
yeah. I mean, we're on the cusp of a lot of different trends right now. But the number one thing I always tell people is find a process that works for you that you can actually don't go down the rabbit hole too much because you'll end up like I did where you spend months looking at SaaS tools, doing demos, spending all this money. Just find what is a basic task in your day to day that you could automate and then replicate that slowly over time. So if there's one task every day that you do that you never have to do again, well, guess what? You just won that time back. And if you can keep doing that with more tasks, well, then you start getting hours of your time back to keep innovating, exploring more, and then automating to the point where maybe you don't even need to hire some people, depending on what your business model is.
Let me ask you this, Daniel, for anyone listening, where do you even get started with AI agents? If you're a beginner, you understand ChatGPT, Claude, you know the basics, right? Where do you even get started with this stuff?
It's really tough because there's new tools. I mean, Ryan, you listed some tools I wasn't even familiar with just now, and I'm on top of this. I used to know every single AI tool there was, but it's really about just finding your use case. First of all, defining what are three tasks that your life could be better if they were automated. And then start with just using ChatGPT to get a feel for putting a prompt in. And maybe you make, what is it, a GPT? That's a good place to start if you don't want to go buy all these other tools. But then I like relevance.ai. I think you had mentioned that one
Yeah.
earlier. It has a direct integration with HubSpot workflows and agents.ai. I like that one a lot. I've also been using. I honestly, I make my own agents in Zapier and Make a lot of times for our clients, and I'm a coder, so I know how to do API stuff and whatnot. But for the average person, that's not realistic.
Yeah, the
But
non-technical no code solutions.
but they could go to Zapier.com, create an account, get on the base plan, and Zapier does have some AI built into it already that you could mess around with if you just want another option. But it's a moving target, Ryan. And what I can tell you is that people have to put in the work and effort to understand the mindset of how these platforms work to get the ROI that they're looking for.
So I gave you my example as a content creator where how I plan to use agents going forward. In terms of marketing, talking about back to our agency, Empathy First Media again, what are some other use cases that you have in mind of how we're going to start implementing agents for our clients and other marketing related tasks?
Yeah, so one of the big things that I've been working on for our clients, we use a lot of custom fields in our content management system. So we use WordPress and then the HubSpot CMS.
Yeah, you might have
And
to
the
explain some of this in layman's terms too.
Yeah, so a content management system is WordPress, Square, Wix, Shopify. It's basically a glorified Excel table on the back end called a database. It's typically a SQL database. And what that is it hosts different values in different fields that represent something on the front end. So if you've ever used a short code, well, you're basically saying, hey, go reference this value in this table to display this on the front end or something similar to that. And so what I have been exploring and what I actually did with the new website, I designed a recent therapist website, is put custom fields based on the custom post type. Okay. So a custom post type would be a page, a blog post. Maybe you have a service page. Well, that could be its own service pages or its own custom post type. Testimonials are its own custom post type. And then creating modules on the front end that pull in all of these fields to display in the widgets or the modules, whether it be HubSpot, using the HubDB tables or WordPress using the SQL tables on the back end. And then what you can do is sync those tables to a Google Sheet or an Excel spreadsheet and basically say, okay, if this blog post, the focus keyword is XYZ, well, then I want you to write the H1 heading of what it should be, the H2 heading, the H3 heading, all the copy associated with that, and have an agent that specializes in each one of those sections of the website, including creating the featured image. Maybe we want to have some text in the featured image, and having it where all that stuff is organized in an Excel table, and then you integrate Google Sheets or Excel to whichever AI tool you want to use, doing direct integrations. There's functions you can use and pull in your vector database to the AI directly inside of Google Sheets. And now you have it writing everything. And then you can either copy and paste or use an API call to update your database table on HubSpot CMS or WordPress SQL tables. And then once you do that, it starts populating the front end. So if you want specific metadata, or the more advanced use case for those who are familiar with structured markup and schema markup, is taking all these different data points from the brand, the entities, all these different things, and having AI auto-populate like the wiki data on the back end. So every page will have custom schema markup based on the intent of that page for your goal, and then integrate that with Google Analytics, Google Search Console to tell the AI, hey, you know what, based on 90 days of historical data, this page is not ranking. We should nuke everything and completely redo it and have it learn to know this is not right. It didn't work, but these pages that you did this on worked. Why are these working? And also cross analyze what other pages are ranking for those keywords. And you can have the AI, I use Apify for this, to go scrape everything and be like, oh, well, all the other pages on this front page mention this keyword in the H1 and the H2 and in the alt text. We should do that too, and keep running iterations at bulk for generative content, but do it in a way that AI is not going to be like, oh, you just blasted 1,000 blogs and didn't even look at them. No, this is going to be all customized, and
Yeah.
that's where we're moving with everything.
Absolutely. And I think we talked about this earlier, but this is all cool, the shiny object syndrome with AI agents. I think before someone dives into agents, in my opinion, you talked about the data component earlier. You have to have a foundation of quality data, or in my opinion, AI agents are almost worthless, right? If you want to rely on OpenAI's data or Anthropic's data or whatever other LLM that you're relying on, you need to first focus on your own internal data and make sure that it's as quality as possible that you can have and assign to these AI agents, so that way you can get the most quality outputs possible, right? Anything in AI, quality inputs equals quality outputs, and that doesn't change with AI agents. So I first want to say that there's so much shiny object syndrome, but people need to pause and just think about the data that they have first before just diving in.
Yes, 100%. And a lot of people, their first reaction is be, oh, AI sucks. It didn't do this right. Just realize it's probably user error more than the AI error. Okay, because you're trying to do something very advanced, thinking, oh, it's going to do everything. You know what? In a couple of years from now, that probably will be the case, but we're
With
not there
AGI
yet.
and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's going to know exactly what you want or be able to analyze things based on a couple like inputs or questions it asks you. But we're not there yet. So right now, it's going to require some iterations. But just like going to the gym and working out, people don't want to put in the work, but they want the results,
They
and
want the
that's where
silver bullet.
that's everything in American society, and that's why the downfall of our capitalistic economy has hit where it is, where people would rather just always find the easy way out to get the most gain and then be disappointed when the outcome's not what they expect, but they didn't really put in the work. So, Ryan, I know you go to the sauna every day and you work out, right? You got to put in the work to get the results. It's no different than with AI or anything in digital marketing. That's always going to be overwhelming, but that's why you have to identify what are the micro wins that you can obtain on a consistent basis to keep your mindset in a growth mindset versus go into fear mode where you feel overwhelmed, flustered, and just want to slam your laptop shut and never look at it again.
Yeah. Any other predictions that you have for AI agents that are not really related to the workforce or white collar jobs, or just any high level predictions that you have this year in 2025 for what AI agents are going to do or what's going to happen?
I think we're going to see a lot more AI agents coming into our daily lives without us realizing, analyzing our behaviors, our data, that you may not realize it, that like, you can only imagine what the financial institutions are using AI for, or retail or big box stores, that over time, things that were mistakes that were missed or issues, they'll have AI agents that will catch those and say, hey, you owe us this, or we owe you a refund if they're ethical, of course. Maybe they program the AI to not do that. But it's going to be a way to check and balance human error because there will always be human errors with humans. That's just how it is. We're not perfect. We can't think like AI does. But instead of fearing AI, we should realize that this is a way for us to take back control of our time and identify our mistakes, not get embarrassed or ashamed, but actually have the AI correct us to get better results. And over time, who knows what will happen? We'll just keep moving the needle. That I look at since 2022 with AI, it's just blown up, changed our entire lives, Ryan, made our agency blow up
Yeah,
very quickly.
once ChatGPT, I mean, we were using Jasper and Jarvis even before that. I remember I was using Spin Rewriter in college at one point, and it didn't really click because I wasn't that smart back then. Just admittedly, when I was using Spin Rewriter, I just kind of used it to copy and paste, move on to the next thing. Right, higher education. That's what it taught us, of course. But that's when I first got my first iteration was Spin Rewriter, Jasper and Jarvis. That's when the light bulb clicked on, and then when ChatGPT came out in November of 2022, that's when everything changed.
Yeah, for sure. And so where are we going? Where is the future of AI agents? I think we really don't know because all it takes is just one new platform to emerge out of nowhere, like OpenAI did or Anthropic did. DeepSeek just emerged, and the development space of coding, I think that's low hanging fruit as well. We didn't talk about that too much, but I've gotten to the point where for custom HubSpot apps that used to take me weeks, if not months, to code, some of this custom JavaScript and PHP, I can now do it in 15 minutes. And what I do is I just every time it works and it's completed, I add it to the language learning of the Claude project or the OpenAI project, and it replicates that for different use cases. But no, this is the format that actually executes properly in the platform in real time, learns from it, and now I don't need to go hire people on Upwork for $50 an hour to do development. I'm doing it all myself.
Yeah,
I'm not.
I think the future is going to be no code solutions, right? Because I'm not a developer, I'm not a coder. I understand SaaS tools, I understand WordPress, like I understand stuff like that. But when you talk about back end development, that's where you lose me. So when you have no code, non technical solutions, I think that's going to move the needle significantly when it comes to mainstream society.
Yes, I 1,000% agree, and that's why empathy. I actually am trying to not hire people anymore because I'm like I would rather just automate things, and if someone knows how to automate, I'll hire you. But I'm not going to hire someone who's like, oh, I don't know how to use AI. Well, you know what? I don't want to work with you then. I'm sorry.
Or even
You're
someone who's super technical, who's, doing all this stuff on the back end. How much value do those people have at this point?
Yeah, I mean, what I used to rely on very technical people for, I can just ask AI now, and I don't need to have that person who will probably complicate it, make it seem like it's more difficult or important than it is to justify their pay and time. And actually, I'm just like, I just want it done today, and I don't want to have to wait. I don't want to have to like beg someone to do it. I'm just going to go to AI and do it right now. And if that's an example of kind of where we're going, well, guess what? I have no problem laying those people off any day of the week. I would
Yeah,
fire on demand.
the
You know,
cash cow of McKinsey Consulting and these back end developers charging $1,000 an hour. I think those heydays are almost over. They're not there yet, in my opinion. But I mean, hell, we have a $20 a month device in our pocket that could replace a $500 consultant. I think that hasn't wrapped around a lot of people's heads yet.
yeah, yeah. People have no idea what AI is capable of, and what I just did with this recent website, where I built an entire website. It took me 2 weeks because I was doing it around the holidays, but it's pretty astronomical that using AI, anytime I ran into an issue with WordPress, for example, we had issues with canonical tags and adding feed to the end, which is showing up in Google Search Console with the webmaster tools. Using AI as I'm deving in real time, I have a library of all these code snippets that AI has made for me that I know fix it 100%. And now every time I do a website, I'm like, boom, boom, boom. I'm knocking things out of the park. Seeing this website rank, it already has 600 pages ranked within 7 days. And it moves the needle very quickly because instead of you having to run all these iterations of like, is it a rank math issue? Is it a robots.txt issue? It will help you identify that in real time, give you the solution, the code, and then we use WP Code as our plugin code snippet library. And I've actually been putting some of those snippets on the public library if anybody wants to check them out. Rank math is great. WordPress is great with using these snippets, and it really does help you get ahead with the SEO game. because if Google's flagging something, you want to address it immediately. And when I've done that, we had another client last week, Ryan. I was working on a website for a chiropractor business that we have in Denver, and the since I made those changes on Saturday, almost it's was it 6 days today, it 3x the SEO in 6 days, and I was
That's
like,
crazy.
okay, it's insane, right?
I know we're not really talking about agents anymore, but you did bring up a good point about the troubleshooting side, right? Whether it's Google Search Console or let's say something's broken on your website. Think about the vision component of these AI models now, where you can literally take a screenshot, upload it to ChatGPT or Claude, and these models are so smart where they can A, identify problems, provide solutions, but B, oftentimes they can also provide HTML, CSS code.
Oh,
I don't, yeah, I don't know
yeah.
about JavaScript. Maybe it can do that. I'm not sure about
No, it
that.
can do PHP and it can do pretty much any
Okay,
programming
yeah, yeah.
language.
Well, that's what I'm
Yes.
saying. That's where I'm going with this.
Well,
Is like,
that's why. I would like where I'm going with this is trying to figure out how do I make our own internal AI agents for WordPress that without me even doing all these things, it has all the code snippets, it has everything, it implements, it checks, and then it checks Google Webmaster. And you are 100% right of the visual component because when I was doing this, what I would do is take a screenshot of Google Webmaster tools with the reports of what the issues were and just upload that screenshot. And that versus me describing it, I'd rather just see what Google's giving me. And that was how I addressed all the solutions for things that honestly my other developer had been working on for 2 years saying, oh, this might do it, this might do it, we have to wait. Well,
well, and
guess what?
that process is better than 99% of SEO consultants, in my opinion.
Yes, exactly. And so that's what I've been focusing on a majority of my time is revamping all of our clients' websites and our internal ones to have these best practices implemented. And we are starting to see results within the Search Console. Like my medical billing company, Ryan, the SEO went from beginning of last year, it was like 80 to 100 people, and now we've been approaching 60 to 70,000 the last 6 months. And it's just crazy of what AI
Yeah,
can do if you do it properly and you know how to do the right keyword research. And again, AI agent for keyword research, integrate with SEMrush, pull the API data. The only thing about AI agents, though, that people need to realize is you may have to do an API call to get the exact data you're looking for. And that's where a lot of people are going to flop is how do I run an API call? How do I pull that data? How do I convert it with an embedding API to the proper similarity dimensions, usually cosine 1536, and then basically have that data to actually be used.
for sure.
And that's the tricky part. But a lot of these other tools that have things built in, when you upload to your info base, that's what essentially what you're doing. So as that becomes more mainstream to the average person, it'll be easier for them to use AI agents or make their own.
For sure. Well, I'm going to end this show here about AI rabbit holes on that, just where we kind of just went over AI agents on a high level view. I know we kind of got into the weeds there, but this is AI rabbit hole, so that's what a perfect segment for this. So, just want to say appreciate you all if you've made it this far into the video. Subscribe to the channel, drop us a like, check out the links in the video description below as well for more information. Daniel, thanks for coming on as always. Be sure to tune in to our next video of AI rabbit holes.